You ever think you know someone, really know them, and then they go and make you feel like the biggest fool alive? That was me. My wife, Lauren, wasn't cheating with some random guy. No, she had a Rebecca. And when I found out, I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I swapped her, Rebecca, for something that would make their next night together one they'd never forget. Let's just say, when things got a little too sticky, the firefighters had to pull them apart. You ever get that gut feeling that something's just off? That's how it started for me. My name's Ethan Walker, 34, from Austin, Texas, and for the past 7 years, I thought I had it all. A steady job at an HVAC company, a modest house in the suburbs, and a wife I worshipped, Lauren. She was smart, stunning, and could talk her way out of anything. We'd met at a friend's barbecue, and I swear, the world slowed down when she laughed. For years, we were that couple people envied. Sunday brunches, road trips, goofy selfies. But lately she'd been different. Always on her phone. Laughing at texts she wouldn't show me. Sneaking out to yoga, when I knew for a fact she could barely touch her toes. I brushed it off at first. Everyone goes through ruts, right? But then little things piled up. One night, her girls' night out ended with her stumbling home at 2 a.m., smelling like someone else's cologne, not mine. When I asked, she laughed it off. "Ethan, you're being paranoid," she said, kissing my cheek before hopping in the shower. But paranoia doesn't make lipstick show up on someone's shirt. That's when the doubts started eating at me. One afternoon, I got home early from a job site. The customer had canceled. Lauren wasn't expecting me, and her car was in the driveway. When I walked inside, her phone buzzed on the counter. I shouldn't have looked. But curiosity is a powerful thing. A text popped up from someone named Rebecca. "Can't wait to see you tonight. I've missed that smile." I froze. My stomach dropped. Rebecca? I didn't know any Rebecca. And the way Lauren smiled when she saw that name on her phone later that evening, yeah, I knew. At first, I thought it was just emotional. Maybe she was venting to a friend or reconnecting with an old pal. But when I followed her one night, yeah, I know how that sounds, I saw her car parked behind a sketchy little motel off the highway. And guess who came out 30 minutes later? Lauren. With another woman. Laughing, holding hands. That was the moment my heart shattered and my brain started cooking up something else. It wasn't about revenge, not at first. I just wanted the truth. But the truth is ugly, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. Lauren had been cheating on me with a woman named Rebecca who worked at her office. And somehow I was the last person to know. I confronted her that night. She didn't deny it. She actually looked relieved. "Ethan," she said softly, "I didn't mean to hurt you. I just needed something different." Different. Like our vows were a sweater she'd outgrown. I felt stupid, angry, small. She told me she wanted a break. She said she needed space. But as I sat there watching her pack a bag, something inside me hardened. I wasn't going to beg. I wasn't going to cry. I was going to make her feel what I felt. And that's when the idea hit me. Lauren always bragged about her girls' nights, facials, massages, all that fancy self-care stuff. She kept her toys and treatments in a little box in the bathroom, lotions, oils, things I didn't ask about. But I knew one of them was something special. She called it Rebecca, ironically enough, some expensive gel she used during her alone time. That's when the devil on my shoulder whispered, what if Rebecca met her match? So I swapped it. I went to the garage, grabbed a tube of super glue, and replaced the contents of her Rebecca bottle with it. Perfectly sealed. Perfectly subtle. And then I waited. The morning after the swap, I woke up before Lauren did. She was humming in the shower, the same way she always did when she was in one of her good moods. That used to make me smile. Now it made me grit my teeth. She got dressed like nothing was wrong, hair perfect, perfume sweet enough to make me sick, and said she was meeting the girls for brunch. The girls. More like the girl. I smiled back like the perfect husband. Have fun, I said, leaning on the counter. She kissed me on the cheek, grabbed her purse, and left. And that was the last normal moment of my day. I spent the next couple hours pacing the living room, pretending to watch TV but mostly just listening to the clock tick. I told myself I wasn't waiting for anything, but deep down, I was waiting for chaos. For justice. For karma in a tube. By mid-afternoon, I got my wish. It started with a phone call. A known number. Then another. Then another. Finally, I picked up. A panicked voice shouted over blaring sirens and background noise. "Is this Ethan Walker? Sir, your wife's been involved in, an incident. We need you to come down to—" I didn't even catch the rest before my heart dropped into my stomach. I drove faster than I ever had in my life. My brain was spinning. I hadn't actually thought she'd used the stuff that day. I figured maybe it'd sit in the drawer for a week or two. But Lauren was nothing if not impulsive. When I got to the scene, a cheap motel off I-35, it was pure chaos. Fire trucks. Police cars. A crowd gathering outside, whispering, pointing. And in the middle of it all I saw her. Lauren. Wrapped in a blanket, hair wild, crying her eyes out. Beside her was a woman, brunette, mid-30s, looking just as panicked. Rebecca. So, that was her. And right behind them, two firefighters were hauling out a twisted, metal-framed bed, the mattress half-burned from where they tried to pry them apart. That's when it hit me. The glue had worked. Apparently, Lauren and Rebecca had gotten busy, and right in the middle of it things got stuck. Literally. The pain must have been unreal. They'd panicked, screamed for help, and the motel manager had called 911. When the firefighters showed up, they had no idea what they were walking into. One of the medics spotted me. "You her husband?" I nodded slowly, trying to keep my face neutral. He sighed. "We had to call the fire department to, separate them. It wasn't pretty." Lauren saw me then, and if looks could kill, I'd have been buried on the spot. Her eyes were red, her makeup streaked, and her pride completely shattered. "You," she hissed, limping toward me. "You did this." Rebecca looked confused and terrified, clutching the blanket around her. "Lauren, what's going on?" she whispered. Lauren's voice cracked as she shouted, He must have, oh my God, then what kind of psycho does this?" I shrugged. Cold. The kind of calm that only comes after you've been broken enough times to stop caring. "I don't know, Lauren," I said evenly. "Maybe the kind that gets tired of being lied to." The firefighters tried not to laugh. One of them actually turned away, shoulders shaking. Even the cop taking notes had to clear his throat to hide a smirk. Lauren's face twisted between anger, embarrassment, and something that looked a lot like guilt. Rebecca just stood there, completely mortified, realizing exactly who I was, and what had just happened between them. The chief finally stepped in. "All right, folks, let's keep it civil. We've got enough trauma for one day." As they helped Lauren and Rebecca into the ambulance, I just stood there, watching the flashing lights fade down the highway. I didn't feel proud. I didn't feel sorry either. Just empty. Because as much as she deserved payback, I realized something brutal in that moment. I'd loved her so much that I'd let revenge turn me into someone I didn't even recognize. And now, there was no going back. The night after the motel incident, I didn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw flashing lights, heard sirens, and smelled that awful mix of smoke and antiseptic. My phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Calls from friends, coworkers, even Lauren's mom. Word had spread fast. Small towns move like that. By the next morning, I was a headline without a name. Firefighters rescue couple from motel mishap. They didn't print details, but everyone in Austin could guess who it was. I kept expecting someone to knock on my door. The cops, maybe. I knew what I'd done was technically criminal. But no one came. Not that day, Instead, around noon, I heard a soft knock. I opened the door and there she was, Lauren. She looked like she'd been through hell, pale, trembling, wrapped in a hoodie and wearing sunglasses even though it was cloudy. "Ethan," she whispered, "we need to talk." I stepped aside. "Sure. You want coffee or a lawyer?" She didn't laugh. She just stood there, silent, hands shaking. I could see the fear behind the anger now, fear that her life had imploded overnight. "I had to tell them I didn't know what happened," she said finally. "Do you realize what you've done? I could have been stuck to your girlfriend forever?" I finished. "Yeah, I caught that part." Her jaw tightened. You could have ruined my life. I looked her straight in the eyes. You already did that. We sat at the kitchen table, the same one where we used to eat breakfast, plan vacations, talk about buying a boat someday. Now it felt like a crime scene. Lauren rubbed her temples. I messed up. I know that. But what you did was cruel, Ethan. You could have seriously hurt someone. That was the first time I saw her cry, not the fake tears she'd used to get her way before, but real ones. The kind that come from shame. It hit me harder than I expected. For a long time, neither of us said a word. The clock ticked. A car passed outside. Somewhere, a neighbor's dog barked. Finally, she said, Rebecca doesn't want to press charges. She's mortified. But the cops, they might come to you. They're calling it tampering. I let out a dry laugh. Guess that's what I get for being creative. Lauren frowned. You're not funny. You need help. That one stung. Because maybe she was right. Maybe the sane version of me, the one who fixed air conditioners and grilled on Sundays, was gone. Replaced by a man who couldn't tell right from revenge. You're not gonna believe how bad this gets, and how it all blew up in my face. Stay with me till the end because this story? It's a wild one. Here's how it all started. She left not long after. No screaming this time, no slammed doors. Just quiet footsteps down the porch and the click of her car door. The house felt emptier than ever. Every photo on the wall, every coffee cup in the sink, every echo in the hallway was a reminder of what used to be. That's when the guilt finally caught up. It didn't hit all at once. It crept in slowly, like a draft under a closed door. I spent the next week pretending everything was fine. Went to work. Fixed people's heaters. Laughed at small talk. But every night I came home, the silence got louder. I kept thinking about that firefighter's face, trying not to laugh while helping them out of that bed. I thought about Rebecca's terrified eyes. And then about Lauren's. I told myself she deserved it. But revenge doesn't stay clean. It sticks to you like the glue I'd used. And no matter how hard you try, you can't scrape it off. A few days later, there was a knock at my door. This time, it was the cops. 2 officers. Calm, polite, not accusatory, but serious. Mr. Walker, one said, we just want to ask a few questions about the incident last Friday. I nodded. You mean the glue? They didn't smile. I gave them a watered-down version of the truth. Said it was a mix-up, an accident, maybe a prank gone wrong. They wrote it all down. They didn't cuff me, but they did leave me with a warning. Sir, one said on his way out, some things you can't fix. Think about that. That night, I sat on the porch with a beer, staring at the dark. My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. It was Lauren. I'm staying with my sister. Don't contact me. I hope you find peace. No threats. No apologies. Just finality. And that's when I realized I'd won the battle, but lost everything else. Excellent. Here's the final chapter. This is where the chaos settles and Ethan has to face what's left of his choices. A month after the incident, life looked the same on the surface, but nothing felt the same. The sun still rose, cars still passed by, I still fixed broken air conditioners, but it all felt like background noise to a movie I didn't want to watch anymore. Lauren had moved out completely. Half the furniture was gone. Her side of the closet stood empty like a wound. Even her favorite coffee mug, the one that said, Boss Babe, was gone. I told my buddies from work that she'd left me for someone else. I didn't mention the glue. That story was already making the rounds in town anyway, distorted and exaggerated. Some folks said she cheated with her boss. Others said she'd been caught in some weird experiment. No one knew the full truth, but everyone knew it was ugly. The only person who hadn't said a word was me. A couple weeks after the cops came, I got a letter, certified mail. It was from Lauren's lawyer. I figured it was divorce papers, and I was right. But there was also a note, handwritten in her neat cursive. Finn, I don't hate you. Not really. I think we both lost ourselves long before that night. Maybe this is the only way we could have ended, messy, painful, unforgettable. Please don't become the man who did that to me. You're better than that. L. I sat there reading it over and over, my stomach twisting. Because for the first time, I saw what she meant. I wasn't proud of what I'd done. I'd wanted her to hurt, but I didn't realize how deep I'd cut both of us in the process. When you're betrayed, it's easy to think of revenge as justice, a way to balance the scales. But the truth is, revenge just drags you down to the same level. Maybe even lower. I decided to see a therapist after that. I didn't tell anyone, not even my family. Just started going once a week after work. The guy's name was Dr. Collins, an older man with kind eyes and a slow Texas drawl. He didn't judge me. He just listened while I unpacked everything. The betrayal, the anger, the glue, all of it. You know what's funny? He said one afternoon, leaning back in his chair. You thought you were teaching her a lesson. But all you really learned was how far you're willing to go when you're hurt. He was right. Pain makes monsters out of good people if you let it. Little by little, I started piecing my life back together. Fixed up the house. Donated her old stuff. Picked up fishing again on weekends. I even joined a local volunteer group. Nothing fancy, just helping clean up trails and parks. There was something about working with my hands, sweating, and seeing progress that helped me breathe again. One Saturday, I saw Lauren at the grocery store. She was in the next aisle, grabbing almond milk. My first instinct was to duck, but she saw me before I could. For a second, we just looked at each other. No anger, no tears. Just two people who used to love each other, standing in front of the cereal section like strangers. She gave me a small nod. I nodded back. That was it. No words. But it was enough. After that, I started sleeping better. The nightmares faded. The guilt didn't disappear completely, but it stopped owning me. I realized that maybe closure doesn't come from apologies or revenge. It comes from accepting what happened and deciding to move forward anyway. A few months later, I moved to a smaller place closer to Lake Travis. I fixed up an old fishing boat someone had left to rot behind their barn. On quiet evenings, I'd take it out on the lake, watch the sunset, and let the world go quiet. Sometimes, when the water's still and the sky's painted orange, I think about Lauren. Not with anger anymore, but with a strange kind of gratitude. She broke me, but she also showed me who I didn't want to be. And maybe that's worth something. Now, when people ask if I'd ever date again, I just smile and say, maybe. Someday. But deep down, I know I'm not looking for someone to replace her. I'm looking for someone I can trust enough to never have to get even with. Because in the end, revenge doesn't fix betrayal. It just glues you to the worst version of yourself. And believe me, some things are better left unstuck.